Okay, moving on to item number 8.2. Homeless encampment on 6th Street in Camino, Arroyo. I'm going to let Matt start this off, and then I'll have some comments myself.
So previously, the City Council had provided us direction specific to the homeless encampment on 6th Street to extend the encampment for 90 days and then to plan for and proceed with removal of that camp. That date is coming up. I said the 6th of May in the report. It's actually the 12th of May, which is next week. We're gearing up for that removal, and this is an opportunity for further conversation on that particular item. And that concludes my staff report.
Sure, I'll have a couple comments before I'll open it up to council for other questions for staff before we go to public comment. But so, first of all, I would like to point out to some of the members of the audience, I know there's been some clapping and stuff tonight, especially earlier on when we had the youth speak, we had Gilroy Garden speak, and we did some proclamations. I mean, that's the time to clap. But in a case like this, especially for this topic where there are good people in this community and in this room and sitting up here that disagree on this, the clapping doesn't serve anybody well at all. So I'm going to ask you guys directly to please hold your clap. It doesn't serve well, please. And we've held great decorum in this room for the past 14 or 15 months, and we don't need to change that. So I really appreciate if you respect that request. The reason why, and the next thing is, I'll tell you, is that as we know that there's a lot of deep differences of opinion on this, and I can tell you why I know that so well. Just take a look at my inbox on my email from this past week, right? And there's a lot of smart, good people on both sides of this that have strong opinions. So again, please keep that in mind. The reason why I, as the mayor, brought this back to the agenda is first and foremost is that since we talked about this last about 90 days ago, we've been able to, council has been able to approve an ad hoc committee that's going to allow this council as an ad hoc and this community to come together and have a new and different conversation that we've had recently in Gilroy. So I thought because of that fact that this would be appropriate to bring this back. The second reason why is because last week that there was a community plan to end homelessness in Gilroy. You heard a report here from folks that are a part of that. And in addition to the community plan to end homelessness, the two other reports that we received this evening, whether it was from community development or PD or the conversation we had regarding the expenditures that are connected with camp cleanups, all of those items combined, I thought it would be appropriate to bring back this item to have one more conversation about before this council decides what to do next. So those are the reasons why I did that. And I'd like to open the floor for council. If you have any questions for any of the staff members before we go to public comment. Go ahead, Kelly. I see your name on there. Sorry, there's a lot of names, so I just saw it. So
okay.
Thank you.
So, and I'm just going to direct them to you. Okay. I've heard that there has been a significant reduction in the number of people living at Camp Hope. Can you confirm that, or?
So I'll look for Captain Dutton to help us out a little bit with the quality of life information if he has any, but I'm not aware of any reduction in numbers at Camp Hope. I think the numbers have been pretty steady. Some come in and some go out.
Okay. And then I guess I would like to know the opinion of those that would be impacted by the abatement. I mean, the abatement, I guess it doesn't, I'm trying to decide, you know, the resources of the city. Would it matter whether we do it tomorrow or 3 months, extend it 9 more months, you know, whatever? I mean.
So the cost and the effort associated with this singular camp shouldn't change. I think the numbers are pretty static in terms of how many are there, so I don't anticipate it growing. There's not enough room for it to grow. So the cost of and the staff hours for disassembly is the same no matter when we do it. The follow-up work afterwards of where do these individuals go and following them around and potentially they would relocate somewhere else in the city and we'd have some additional work to do wherever they locate to place them further or to help them to find an appropriate place. That would be obviously increased in the timeline, whatever that gap is.
So if we abate, there would be an impact, an increase on resources.
No matter when we do it, yes.
No matter when we do it. Thank you.
Councilmember Fugazi, please.
Question on our neighbor to this encampment, which is Valley Water Resources that go next to it. Have we had any discussions or feedback or any comments from them regarding this encampment being there?
So I think Valley Water is supportive of an encampment that's not on their property. So it's not something that they have to deal with. I suspect that they would, if it were to move over 10 feet and be on Valley Water property, I think there would be a different perspective from Valley Water.
So in 2018 or 2019, Valley Water at a meeting had said that they can't put porta potties near the water resources, such as the way they are right now. If those were to tip over or to go into the river, would that be a major issue?
It would be an issue. We would need to do the cleanup associated with that. It would be our responsibility.
It would be a Clean Water Act issue and a bunch of other things too, probably, right?
Yeah, there's a process for cleaning spills up, and we would take care of that, and we'd take care of the reporting appropriately. Okay. Similar to an illicit dumping into a storm drain, we would handle it the same sort of way, although it's not illicit because we know what it is and we're taking responsibility for it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions before I go to public comment? Okay, look, we're going to be at 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. Why don't you take care of the list there, Kim?
Yep. Anne Marie, followed by Jan and Mario.
I just simply want to say that all the citizens that are complaining about Camp Hope today will be complaining next week and the week after, because this abatement will not stop people from doing drugs in shopping centers, camping in undesirable places, and being in public view. All this abatement does is make it harder for people trying to get out of homelessness, the service providers, and the police. If you partner with the community members who are doing the work, we can help you solve the problem that your supporters are complaining about. The complainers are not doing the work, but we are. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be fast. Now that we know how much it costs to clean up encampments all around the city and chase people from place to place, why would we add to that? I can assure you, Councilmember Fugazi, it's far worse for the water quality to have 25 people with no sanitation facilities at all than it is to have 25 people with porta potty access. I also want to point out that Valley Water themselves had porta potties placed when the encampment was at Tompkins Court. So I have talked to Valley Water management, and they are happy with Camp Hope. It's, again, like I said, it's not on their property, and it's being managed. It's got porta potties, which is way better from their perspective. Not only that, the Camp Hope residents bag up their garbage, and that is the only city cost. The city has been picking up the garbage that they bagged, although 2 weeks ago, Pit Stop Outreach also helped pay for a dump run, and it was Camp Hope residents who did that cleanup, and large items not only from Camp Hope but from the surrounding area there too. They went out, they got weed whackers, they did the weed abatement for the camp. They have been doing their best to be good neighbors. And going forward, you know, I say let's let the ad hoc committee make the decision, because as soon as that camp is abated, then the added expenses for the city of Gilroy start accruing. Why not put that off and let the ad hoc committee make its recommendations now that that's been approved? Thank you.
Mario, followed by Vanessa, and then Max.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm here tonight asking you to extend Camp Hope, not because it's perfect, because it's working. 6 people have already moved into housing from this community. The numbers have decreased. But the real story is not in the numbers, it's in the people. In a system that often measures failure, those numbers matter. Why? Because Camp Hope offers something many traditional models still struggle to create: connection, trust, dignity, accountability, and sovereignty. In my diverse professional adventures, after years of watching what works and what doesn't, one truth keeps showing up. Connection changes outcomes, relationship changes outcomes, people stabilize when they are known, not just managed. Sweeping this camp on May 12th does not solve homelessness. It disrupts stability, it breaks trust, it scatters people who are finally beginning to root. And when we break connection, we often recreate the very crisis our system then spends thousands of dollars responding to. Camp Hope is not creating disorder, it's creating community. So tonight, I'm asking you lead with courage, not optics. Extend Camp Hope, protect what is working, and show this city that when something is producing safety, housing, and human connection, we don't destroy it, we build on it. My ask is that we allow the ad hoc to take the time to explore solutions and feasibility. Thank you.
Max, followed by Aubrey.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Max. I'm 15 years old, and I spoke at the last council meeting. I'm here again because this matters to me. Over Easter weekend, I spent time at Camp Hope. I didn't just hear about it from adults or read about it online. I was actually there. I met people, I talked with them, I ate with them, I played with their dogs, and I honestly even improved my dart game. What I saw was not what people usually imagine when they hear the word encampment. What I saw was community. I saw people looking out for each other. I saw trust. I saw people who knew my name and made me feel safe. These aren't just tents. These are people I know, I trust, people who have shown me kindness. If Camp Hope gets swept on May 12th, you are not just moving tents, you are breaking relationships, breaking trust, and disturbing something that is actually helping people. I'm young, but I know when something feels right. Camp Hope feels real. Please don't destroy something that is working. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. To answer your question about the decrease, yeah, it went from 25 to 15. I know that because I'm the de facto mayor of Camp Hope. My name is Aubrey Tasby. I stand before you as Aubrey Tasby, the de facto mayor of Camp Hope. I live there with my neighbors on 6th Street, and I speak for our community, about 15 people who call this place home. Camp Hope is more than tents. It's a self-organized structure, safe place. We maintain order. We have porta potties and trash service thanks to partners like Pit Stop Outreach, and we work every day on pathways to housing. Several of our residents have already moved into permanent housing or interim housing because of the stability this camp provides. Without Camp Hope, we will scatter back into the neighborhoods, parks, and hidden spots, making outreach harder, safety risks higher, and costs to the city greater. We are not asking for permanence tonight. We are asking for more time, more of extension, so we can continue the progress we already started and secure real housing placement. Thank you.
you.
Robert Aguirre, followed by Tom Targan and Deborah.
Hi. I would like to point out that what we have at Camp Hope is not just a bunch of people that are unhoused, that are living in tents. We have a community. We have people that have built together something that is working for them and on the same time working for the city, because we're trying to reduce the number of people that are living outdoors. And this is a path that has been carved out by the people with their own hands and their own work, along with the supporting people, the services that are brought to them, to get them out of this situation and reduce the number of people living in the streets. When you take that leg out from that three-legged stool, where you lose the support, you lose the community, you lose your economy, you're lost. You're starting from ground zero. And this continues to happen over and over again, and it has an effect on people. Can you imagine if you had to move out of your home every week or every 100 days, 90 days, whatever? You had to move to another place and take only what you could carry with you. Imagine what that would do to your psyche over a period of time. The fact is that this is a group of people that have put laws on themselves. There's no drugs that go on there. There's no fires. There's nothing that creates a problem. I would challenge the police department to let us know if there's been any issues that people have created a problem. And I would guarantee you that they're going to say there's none. So what is the alternative? What is it that the city of Gilroy is planning on doing in lieu of this plan, of this community? What's going on? Okay, so I would say to you, don't throw water onto a grease fire. We already have a problem. You don't want to make it worse. And the biggest cost is not the money, but the cost to the individuals that are being affected by what the city does.
Tom, and then Deborah.
Deborah, please.
Deborah?
Okay. So folks who know me know that one of the top things that I dislike most in life is getting up in public and speaking. But today I'm stepping up and speaking to be an advocate for our unhoused folks who are desperate and urgently need to hear our voices and our hearts for them. Because Camp Hope is something that really has worked. I've been like a volunteer for the unhoused for many, many years, starting with Glide Memorial in San Francisco and Safe Parking, the family homeless shelter in Morgan Hill, and now with Pit Stop. So I've seen how like we can and community really help these folks. So I've been, just like even in the family shelter, sitting there eating meals with them, listening to their stories about how they became homeless or how they lost their job, and all of a sudden they don't have the thousands of dollars of savings to be able to get back into housing. Again, like, you've heard from so many people, they don't have, money for phone service, so people can call them and they can get a job. And pretty soon all the money that they possibly saved has gone to rent. And again, they don't have first and last month's rent to pay for money. So anyway, my point was, I've seen these people in the trenches trying to survive, and with the community's help and social services, they've been able to get out of that cycle of homelessness, but they can't do it on their own. So it's like imperative, like with Camp Hope, they have a stable place to provide that stability, and so social services can find them and get to them. So I really think that we as a community need to have that compassion, and we don't have a solution right now. And we can see Camp Hope, we can see that it's actually working, because again, they have that safety net, they have a place that they can be at. So, again, Camp Hope is about practical management, that we can give them the help that they need, and they have some place to go until we find some
Thank you
kind
so
of-
much, Deborah.
You're
Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Chris Fanny, followed by Rebecca Armendariz and Wes White.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. 90 days ago, we heard that Camp Hope needed 90 days. Tonight, it's clear that the ask is more permanent than what was originally told to Council. And it's permanent in incremental amounts. It appears that that's where it's going. It's interesting. I've heard that a lot of folks have found housing. But I've also heard the camp is the same size, if not growing. So does that mean as folks are leaving, new folks are coming in? Because I don't think that was the original intent of Camp Hope and the 90-day extension that was granted. Back then, I expressed my concern that this would become a slippery slope. And here we are. It's becoming a slippery slope. As I stated last time, I'm deeply concerned that the slippery slope will result in other areas being slated for encampments or other encampments just popping up and then being allowed to stay. When we had the encampments out in the creek area, near several of our properties and other residential areas, we had nothing but problems. We had loitering, we had drug use, intoxicated folks we were constantly calling the police on. We had people exposing themselves at businesses and several other items. Once the creek caught on fire, that solved that problem because the city quickly moved to have that area cleaned up. A lot of the issues we were having went away. However, as a result of the fire, and you could have a result where you might have a creek cleanup, as a result of the fire, our insurance rates increased by over 25%. Directly as a result of the fire, something that the city had allowed. Those costs, most of them are passed on to our tenants. It raises the price of their business, raises the price of what they're going to charge the public. So, again, it's a slippery slope. I don't have the solution, but I don't think the solution is allowing encampments.
Thank you, Chris.
Rebecca?
Good evening, folks. Thank you, Mayor, for opening up this conversation again and allowing us to speak. Like any other neighborhood, Camp Hope isn't perfect, but it's home and it works. It's provided a safe and stable environment where folks can get the resources and services that they need, where they can be found by their case managers and others. This has lent itself to 10% of Camp Hope residents being housed. The population has gone from 25 to 15 people. My son and I feed folks on Sunday. We take dinners out there, and it's been great to see the number of dinners filling my trunk shrink from 40 or 45 down to 15 or 20 that we take out there now. It's been great to pull up when folks are packing and a case manager is there helping them move to an apartment or a studio. And this isn't because of threats of abatement that it works. It's not because of them being criminalized. This success is because of the residents being treated like human beings. It's because they're being supported and assisted by our local agencies and their fellow residents like Deborah. So I really encourage you to create an exception to the policy, to not use this policy as an excuse not to do anything. This body created this policy and this body can change it. And we should change it because you have the right to do it and because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Wes, followed by Sally, and then Tristia.
Wes Wisely, Monterey County Homeless Unit co-president. You have an opportunity right now to save a lot of money, to validate people. I mean, you're going to see them again somewhere else. A new encampment's going to pop up. Oh my God, oh my God. You need minimal health and safety standards. Pass people over. What would it take to see just tent and ground? Is that enough to respect people's property? Real property versus private property, personal property, right? In this casino of this culture, we got rigged tables and, rigged house odds and rigged tables. That's what it is. And of course, the person with less money has less influence over your decision because Who's paying you? What is their life worth? Look how many properties they own. They've got millions of dollars. Those are the people I want to listen to. Those are the people that are going to get me reelected. Those worthless people. I'm worth 20 of those people. Is that how the United States is supposed to function? Is that what our core belief and value system is really built on? I thought it was equality and justice for all, not just some, not just the ones who pay for it, but every single human being here. Borders are illegal to begin with. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. And that's actually how a lot of this ends up being. If you're not alive on paper, you don't deserve to exist, so I'm going to spend money getting rid of you because I got no money to help you. And that's an attitude adjustment. That's abusive off the top. And that's, hopefully that gives you a bad feeling in your mouth and you don't want to be that person and vote that way. You're still going to see these people again tomorrow, somewhere else. A new problem, oh my God, and they're now anonymous instead of people that you actually knew. So now you can just, oh, they're transients. They don't even belong here. They're not residents. The whole attitude of open discrimination needs to stop. We need to do better. Stop the sweeps.
Hello to all of you. I just can't believe that we're here again asking you to consider to keep Camp Hope open. We as a society share some responsibility to provide the residents of Camp Hope a safe place to live. I would imagine that none of you can ever put yourself in their shoes, as life has never dealt you that card. However, the people who live there, that is their home. Just like you have a home to go to every day, Camp Hope is their home. Most of the residents of Camp Hope or the Anjos are people from Gilroy whose families have been here for several generations. I know this because at times I go with my daughter Rebecca to deliver food or other essentials to the people that live there. I know that several months ago, Klein, Kelly, and Greg went out there, and I can assure you they know the situation and how people live there. Maybe the other members should go out there and see. These are members of our community, and due to their circumstances, cannot afford any type of rent in Gilroy or anywhere in South County. You, our city council, should know that without the community coming, you should know this without the community coming here and telling you, because you see them when you go to Costco or Walmart or wherever you go. Instead of closing it down, you should be looking for ways to keep it open and provide additional services. What you are doing is you're unhousing the unhoused from a place owned by the city, which is away from the residential homes. I understand that you formed an ad hoc committee to come up with a solution. That is pretty hypocritical of you if you shut down Camp Hope. If you close it down, it will dislocate disabled individuals that have nowhere to go because you know you have the power to keep it open. But if you close it down, you're admitting that you have no power or no way of helping those residents that live at Camp Hope. As a responsible council person, you must keep it open until such time as a so-called ad hoc committee can come up with a solution which is acceptable to all, and I mean all, not just the city council.
Thank you so much, Sally. You got your 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Right. And
Thank you very much.
Let's not be hypocritical. Let's help the people.
Thank you.
Tristia?
Hello, everyone. Tristia Bauman, directing attorney at the Law Foundation of Silicon Valley. I submitted a letter that laid out the reasons why I know in my 20 years of legal experience and policy experience in this space that Camp Hope is the most successful housing program that we have in terms of reduction of homelessness in a short period of time. But I don't want to restate the arguments in my letter. I want to just do some math because we heard a lot of numbers here today. There's a difference of opinion. So let's turn to objective numbers. There are 700 unsheltered people here in the city. We heard from the county experts that the ratio is about are exited for every 1.1 that enters in. So the numbers stay static. Is there affordable housing available for them? No. The county said that our next affordable housing project is going to come online maybe in 2030. Is there shelter available for them? No. We heard Ms. Ramirez, Councilmember Ramirez, describe that the Armory accepts around 2 people, and that is for a temporary time because the county is going to start a limitation of 120 days at a time. So 700 minus possibly 2 is going to be 698 people that will have no option but to go to another outdoor location. So in terms of displacing people from Camp Hope, you're not going to see a reduction in the number of people living outside. So let's turn to another way to look at this. Money. Are we going to save money? Well, no. In fact, we heard from the city manager that these cost of abating Camp Hope will be the same if you do it tomorrow, next week as planned, or 9 months from now. But there will be additional costs because people will be displaced to outdoor locations, and there will be costs associated with re-abating them. And in fact, because of that, there's $750,000 that's been asked of this body as an additional amount to include in the budget over the course of 5 years. This is a broken system, and we have a new ad hoc committee that can solve it. Intentionally, doing the math, setting aside the opinions, and that is what we're asking you to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have no further speakers.
All right, so back to council. I guess the first thing I'll ask of council, are there any questions so far? Typically is when we deliberate, but are there any questions for staff or anything right now? No questions.
No, I have one of Andy, though. Andy, if we allow Camp Hope to continue, what legal stance does the city have if other encampments, if other groups decide to form an encampment and maybe they're not going to be as well run as Camp Hope and it's just kind of helter-skelter?
It's perhaps less a strictly legal issue than it would be an argument, because anybody would make the argument that I think Councilmember Marks is suggesting, which is if you let that camp go, you should let us do it too, because we will self-govern or whatever positive features that they wish to say. In terms of how you enforce your ordinance, it's probably not precedent, but it would be argued to be precedent, I'm sure.
So are you saying then that other encampments, people could say that we can start camping on any city property that we want? We can go to the parks, we can go to city streets. Is that what you're saying?
I don't want to speculate as to what people would say, but people certainly could say that the city ordinance is not being enforced by the city over here, so it shouldn't be enforced over here or over here either. I would expect that argument to be made, I guess is what I would say.
Well, sounds like there's not, you have a question?
Not a question.
Okay.
So, just a couple things. My mind is like pinballing all over the place. It has been ever since this was brought back on. First thing I want to do is I want to apologize. I do not remember who I sent the email to. And I said it cannot be put on the agenda because the process takes too long. I was thinking of in terms of myself as a council member. I have to go through the fair memo process. The mayor has a different ability than I do. So my bad on that. I completely forgot. Everyone here that spoke, I agree with. Both sides. The emails that we get, both sides, I agree with. Everybody in the room seems to be right. And that is what makes it very difficult for me. Good points brought up by council members, right? Our obligation is to, first and foremost, is to protect the city. This is a really difficult thing. I want to thank everybody for emailing and coming up and talking. You all make great points. Just thank you for that.
Go ahead, Councilmember Bracco, and then Fugazzi.
Yes, it's not a difficult for me. Everybody knows how I felt last time. Nothing's changed. I've been surprised at some of the emails and stuff. The hatred in our community towards others in the community is sad. And it bothers me that they even mentioned the safe parking that we have, because that people didn't know about that. And I'm sure there's individuals that'll be out tomorrow looking for it so they can start complaining about it. But I live on the east side, and since Camp Hope has been there, it's selfish for me because it's been nicer. There's not people roaming around, sleeping on the sidewalks. It's been cleaned up. And I would ask that some folks connect the dots. You're saying, well, it used to be they were living in the creek, and they used to be living over here, and they used to be bothering these people. Well, it's not. They're not. It was used to be. They're not now. And I hate to see folks in our community comparing. Comparing Camp Hope to the crazy people that accosted someone coming out of the store that was all strung out on drugs. That's not those folks over there. So, don't compare them. If you have a problem with the individuals that are there at Camp Hope, talk about that, not what other people have done in this city in years past. So I'll still be supporting this, and I would prefer that we don't bring it back unless there's a problem. Thank you.
Councilmember Fugazzi.
First thing I'd like to say is I don't have really any problem against an organized encampment for the unhoused that is structured and has a proper path and is organized in the right way. The dilemma that I have, first and foremost, is the location where this particular camp exists. I know there's good people there. Some of them were benefiting from the Carry the Vision, grant stuff that I tried to move money to, and there are people trying to get help, and I don't see a problem with the people in particular. It's a location. It's a liability for the city. There is a case in Oceanside right now, which is Pritchard versus Oceanside, where an unhoused person did die on city property, and that's going through the courts right now as an issue. I don't believe it should have been allowed from the get-go. I think that was a huge mistake for the interim city manager or city administrator to do at the time. And now that kind of really put us in this difficult position that we're in. It is an unfair application of the law, in my personal opinion, and I'm not an attorney, but there are certain people who now get the advantage of having an encampment against the rule of the city. And yes, we can change those rules, but those rules were created by us, and everybody should have to play by those rules. And some of you may have seen when the pride flag thing has come up twice already for me, and my own personal beliefs on it don't come into play as much as these are the rules that were set in place for somebody to follow. That person followed those rules, and now we have to abide by those rules. I think that 15 people is a tiny percentage of the city, so to place an argument that there's going to be a huge impact, or even an argument that Councilmember Bracco made of this is now somehow or another cleaned up the whole city, is kind of unrealistic. The idea that they have nowhere to go, if they have nowhere to go, all of you have failed. Because there's got to be some place where 15 people can go amongst people, some of which who have property where some of these people could also come and have a community on in private property. I also believe that this is not going to scatter a bunch of people, because you also are a community that is helping people, and there are places on county property that are not far away that you could organize to move these individuals onto that property, and it wouldn't be a city issue on city property anymore with the city liabilities and other things that we have for 15 individuals. I said much more in the last meeting, but I don't believe that this should continue in this space, and we should figure out how to to clear it out.
I'll go ahead and say a few words. After Valley Water evicted people from the waterways on the north and south sides of this town, some of them eventually settled on this sliver of town, on this sliver of land off of 6th Street. What we were told, and what I even thought at that time, is that we should be opposed to this type of settlement, is because we knew that the exact same challenges, not just limited to the environment, the damages to the environment, but also serious acts of weapons violations, robbery, violence amongst themselves, and violence against city staff, and experienced by Valley Water, that those were going to happen here. And they have not. In general, they have not. In 2023, the City Council passed an ordinance with the intent of protecting critical public infrastructure by banning the use of certain public right-of-ways as sleeping or living accommodation. While the 6th Street encampment does narrowly fall into the 100-foot zone adjacent to public infrastructure listed in the ordinance, such as underpasses, bridges, railways, water wells, and storm basins, to the best of my knowledge, they have not been damaged, nor do they appear to be threatened. While I do understand the importance of making and having consistent code enforcement, the intent of the 2023 ordinance, which is protecting critical infrastructure, is still being achieved. And finally, we often talk about the costs associated with managing and mitigating the challenges of homelessness. This is one of the reasons why I thought it would be appropriate to bring this back. We heard a lot of discussion this evening from different departments and different agencies from Santa Clara County. And typically what we hear in Gilroy is that the cost to mitigate the unhoused with our quality of life officer team is about $600,000. But what we also learned today, that we're probably going to spend about $100,000 in cleanups. But we also learned is that we already knew, but we have to remind ourselves, is that we have 2 full-time staff in our housing department at not an insignificant cost, that are also doing their best to deal and prevent homelessness. We have CDBG money, I believe around $50,000 that was applied this year to prevent homelessness. So the direct and indirect costs just from our city alone are not $600,000, are probably closer to $1 million. And when you start to think about the numbers that I just heard from Santa Clara County, the amount of money that they're spending down here was far and above what I ever even imagined. But there's other costs that go on down here in South Santa Clara too, and as some of our council members talked about before, we all have, even though it's not City of Gilroy money, it's our tax money. And if you think of the amount of money that Valley Water is spending on abatements, or have over the years, the amount of money that Caltrans continues to spend on abatements, if you think of the amount of money that the Salvation Army, that South County Community Services, that Community Solutions spend on preventing and dealing with homelessness, as well as, finally, the cost of private interests. Not just big private interests like Union Pacific, but local property and business owners and residences that deal with the consequences from bad actors, which, yes, does include some of those from the homeless community. These expenses include costs from garbage cleanup, preventing trespassing, destruction of property, loss of business, and theft. I know it full well. In 2025 alone, my small little family business was the victim of stolen tools, equipment, and vehicles of over $30,000 in 1 year alone. Unfortunately, for those of us in small business and construction and property ownership and agriculture, it's almost become normalized for this type of activity with our businesses. So while I appreciate the time and energy and the money associated with managing the unhoused over the past 5 years alone, since we began our quality of life officers, their cost alone is $3 million. But if you start to add up all of the other costs that it takes, that we are putting into preventing homelessness and dealing with homelessness throughout what's happening in South Santa Clara County over the past 5 years, it sounds like it's $6, $7, $8, or $9 million. And it is not uncommon, however, that the work we do in Gilroy with the unhoused, unfortunately, even though all this hard work is done, behind the scenes, what do we say about it? It's a cat and mouse game, it's a hide and seek game, and it's a whack-a-mole. And one thing that I can comfortably say, that what unites everybody in this community, I believe, and probably everyone in this room, and those of us that sit up here together, is that we believe that we are spending too much money on the unhoused challenges that we have in this community, and the outcomes are not good enough for us and the people in this room and this community. So because of that, for me, a vote to disband the 6th Street encampment is a vote in favor of furthering supporting of the actions that we've already been taking that are not working. So this is why I encourage members of this body to cancel the abatement of the 6th Street encampment. Further comments or questions? Sure.
So what's your solution for that piece of property long term?
What do you mean by long term, if you don't mind?
I don't know. That's the whole question. Like, it's great that you want to abate it, but there's clearly concerns that we have for that property, or at least this council member's concern for that particular property or city property. We hear from others that haven't spoken at all yet, like Council Member Klein or what have you. But it's also unfair to extend out for 30 days and extend out for 30 days and extend out. So if you have something in mind of what you'd like to do, you should speak your mind now, and we should hear what that is, rather than just go, okay, we're not going to do it now, let's come back to it in 30 days, 60 days, 90.
Well, I think for a moment there you said it was okay to abate it. I'm not interested in abating it right now. So,
No, what I meant was not, if you're not going to abate it now,
yeah,
right, what is the future plan for that piece of property? Is it just, hey, we're going to come back every 30 days and we'll see what happens, which is kind of bummer for them, right? Or is it, hey, I want to have a permanent spot here. This is going to be the new permanent spot in Gilroy for a transition center or something.
I don't believe that, as you said, that property is a good spot for a permanent spot. I do not think that at all. The fact that we've all talked about this today, and other council members have talked about it, the fact that we have put together an ad hoc committee, I do believe that this gives the ad hoc committee a chance to get together, form the committee, get the stakeholders in place, and start talking about some options. I don't think it's appropriate for me, as the mayor, to start deliberating on what might happen with this ad hoc committee.
No, I was just wondering what your personal idea was going forward, but the ad hoc committee is 6 months of meetings, is that correct?
No, the ad hoc committee starts on June 8th and will be over by September 24th. We asked for an expedited...
So like 4 months, and then you might have some, so, I mean...
Yeah, it has to come back to council.
Yeah, and then you're going to come back, so it's 6 months more for this particular piece of land, is what you're saying. Then we'll be in winter, and then it'll be, well, we don't want to displace anybody in winter, we don't have a plan yet, so we're going to go into next year. I'm just trying to look down the road at what this means if we're going this way, and everybody kind of puts that locked into their head, as opposed to another place where this camp could go.
My sense that this evening, if we have the opportunity, I am not going to come and ask for a 90-day, a 120-day. My sense is that if we walked away with a month-to-month, that we would be getting constant feedback from our quality of life staff. They would be the one giving us feedback.
So we have to come back here every month?
No. That would be the terms that this camp moves forward on, and for some reason our quality of life officers come back to us and say, things have drastically changed there for the better, it's time for this to end, that they could give us that advice, and we can make that decision.
I like that. You know, well, wait a minute. I think we need to have a little bit more discussion.
Sure.
But no, a month to month would be okay with me, because I feel badly if Camp Hope is doing so well, it should be a model encampment for other encampments around the city, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. Cleanliness, no fires, no drugs, no fights, no crime. You could be a model encampment for the state. And if we have it here, and it sounds like you have a really good handle on it with the mayor, I mean, that you do need a leader there. And I would assume you take control of the people. And the people who move in there know what you expect. Now, would you kick someone out if they started breaking the law? Yes. Okay. That's what I'd like to hear, because we don't want to have problems. And I am just really concerned, you know. And I didn't know how I was going to vote when I walked in here. I was going back and forth, back and forth. But I like what the mayor said. We don't need to have, you know, an hour discussion every month on this, but if there are issues, quality of life comes in, they talk about it, and then we make a decision right there and then. That really puts the onus on all the people who live there at the camp. If you want to stay there, you're going to be on the up and up.
Let me, Councilmember Klein?
I know you
I'll go back to you.
asked me about, I hadn't commented. We did a lot of commenting 3 months ago about this issue. And I've been out there discussing this with people and getting feedback. It's important to hear it from both sides. And we're not going to come up with a solution tonight in the sense of ending this thing. And so, yeah, you tie it into this ad hoc committee. I don't want it open-ended. So to me, the month-to-month is more of a compromise to me at this point. But that's kind of where I'm at with this.
Okay, I'm going to jump to Andy first, and then I'll go to Kelly, and then back to
I want to make
Fugazi.
a brief comment, which is that if the council's decision is to allow the encampment to continue for a while, it is better to put it that way as opposed to any kind of permanence, because if it becomes a permanent city facility, then there are liabilities that are attached to that, and there are laws that have to be obeyed in terms of how you run a public facility. And so I think if, in fact, the concept is that it goes month to month or for a smaller period of time, kind of at sufferance, that, from the city's standpoint, is a better legal position than it would be to give it some sort of permanence.
So what about if we did, you know, I would just hate to, again, be, I'm so tired, I can't think of words, but I don't want it to be a burden on staff to have to come back and give a report every month. But what about if we say, okay, yes, at the end of September is when we're going to have, you know, or we come back in October with something for council from the ad hoc committee. Let's extend it to October with the caveat that if there is any kind of issue, you know, they're starting to get calls for service, there's, you know, fights or anything out there that is disruptive or things have changed, then staff brings it back and says, hey, we just need to raise a red flag here and just want to give you an update on what's happening. And then at that point, we can say, all right, it needs to shut down. But if it's moving along as is, it's not growing in size, there are no calls of service and things like that, then keep it there until, I don't know, October or something like that, when we come back with something to council from the ad hoc committee.
I like it.
So the goal from the last meeting is that, or not the goal, but the description that was given to us in the last meeting, that the residents of this particular camp were a set number, and that number was going to be reduced down, and no new people were going to be coming into the camp. Did I remember that correctly? Is that people's recollection? Is that your recollection, Greg?
No.
No?
That was my recollection.
Oh, okay. So going forward, we're not looking to reduce the numbers in the camp. We're looking to still add people into the camp as we go forward. Is that what this would do as well? Because you might be able to get me on board if you said, hey, I got a log of everybody in the camp, okay? And we're trying to get those people into housing, and we're going to start knocking people off the camp, and somebody's going to keep track of who's in the camp, and there's no new people coming into the camp. Then that seems like a a better way of dealing with that situation. But if it's not, it's like the other mayor gets to decide who goes in and out of the camp, then no, it just becomes a continual situation that'll never be resolved, even to the time in which you come back with your results. There'll still be 25 or 22 or 17 or however many people in the camp on city property.
But if we set a number, say 25, whatever number the council wants, we could, well, but then we're also giving people who are out there struggling a chance to come in and get housing and you know, and get out of the situation. You know, but it would have to be under, I think it would have to be under pretty strict rules from the city since it's on our property, and it sounds like you have a good handle right now on it. But I have no problem keeping it at a steady 20, at a firm 25.
I think somebody should make a motion and we should move on.
Did Matt want to say something?
Yeah, I think when we start to put a whole bunch of criteria in place that we have to manage from staff's perspective, we change the dynamic dramatically on the location. It becomes very, very difficult for us to manage who's there today and not tomorrow and what the turnover might be. We are currently working over the last 90 days on the scenario of bring it back if there's an issue. And that worked really well because we're able to keep an eye on it and identify if there's issues and then bring it back to council's awareness. As you were suggesting, Councilmember Ramirez, I think that gives us an opportunity to say, hey, there's something going on here that the council needs to know about, but doesn't create that whole management structure and the oversight and the additional workload for staff in managing something that's not currently a city facility really and turning it into one.
Okay, but suppose it all of a sudden jumps to 50. I mean, who's managing that? You know, do we want to keep the number down, or do we want to say that no one else moves in once someone leaves? I mean, I think there has to be some guidelines.
So, from my perspective, it's outcome based. Is the camp functioning in a way that doesn't create conflict, where we don't have the issues that we have with garbage and that kind of a thing? In other locations that are spread throughout the city, where the services can come to one location, and so I would be resistant to putting a number on it.
And the reason why is because if we're going to have them on a 30-day, unofficial or official feedback, if they come back and say there's a problem, and one of those problems is too many people, then we have an opportunity to end it.
Okay. Okay.
And just on the record, I personally believe that we are taking on liability for the city, additional liability with this many people sitting on city property that are not managed by anybody from the city. So, hey.
Want me to try to make a motion, Greg?
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Camp Hope to continue to operate, and barring any issues with our quality of life officers bring to us, that we allow them to be there.
You have a second?
Can you do a friendly amendment based on the recommendation by council to not have it extended forever? Just kind of put like at least come and have it be revisited in October or something like that.
It's on a month-to-month. We can revisit it whenever we want.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Bracco and a second by Councilmember Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Before you do that,
Thank you. Sure.
Sorry.
It's okay.
One more just brief comment, which is the sense of the motion, as I understand it, is that we would forbear abatement. In other words, not abate the property without a waiver of our right to enforce the city ordinance elsewhere or against this property when and if the council decides it's appropriate.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fugazi?
No.
Councilmember Hilton?
No.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Yes.
Mayor Bozzo?
Yes, motion passes 5-2.